Welcome to the Beyond Sugar Freedom podcast. I'm your host, Danielle Dame, holistic nutrition coach and speaker. Let's dive in. Hey, everyone. Welcome back to another episode. Wow, it has been an incredible few weeks. For those who have been following along, you'll know that we just wrapped up an incredible week-long emotional eating boot camp. And then just last week, just actually a couple of days ago, we wrapped up and closed registration for my upcoming emotional empowerment program, which actually we just started. We had our welcome call yesterday. Oh my goodness, it's incredible just to see the women who have jumped in and really committed and said yes to themselves on this journey. It is like, oh, I still have goosebumps. I'm so excited to guide these women over the next 8 weeks in the emotional empowerment program. It is going to be such a deep dive into these root causes that we've been slowly uncovering together. Whether you were following along with the boot camp or just following along with the podcast the last couple of weeks, you'll know we've been having a lot of these conversations around the real missing pieces that most people completely ignore and forget when it comes to building a lasting, healthy relationship with sugar and with food and with ourselves. So hopefully you've been enjoying a lot of these deep dives, and it's been such a pleasure and gift to be your guide the last few weeks and obviously to continue to be your guide. So I'm glad that you're tuning in to another episode here today. And I just wanted to start things off with, this weekly update of how excited I am to officially be getting started. The women who have been joining this program and are here to commit and show up for each other. It's just been incredible. And there's something else that I'm really want to share with all of you that's very, very exciting, because in last week, when registration was open for the program, I did get a lot of messages, and I do every time I host a program. I get a lot of messages during the week and in the days after, for people who didn't register, really noticing and mentioning that, the investment in this level of a program is not really where they're at right now. And I can completely understand and resonate and relate with that. And I never want finances to be something that holds, any of you back from really getting the support and being in the right community to do this deep inner work. And, that is why I very purposely created a few different tiers and a few different options that I offer for my clients, for people who are ready to do this work. So what I want to do right now, and actually for those who are, we're following with the bootcamp, you will have seen an email from me today, but I want to share this with all of you. Really, really exciting. There's another opportunity for you to do this work. And it's not the same investment level. It is a lot more affordable and accessible for all of you, hopefully, to still be in community, to still do the inner work, to still have me as your guide in going deep into a lot of these topics. So what I'm going to be doing just for the next couple days, actually until April 21st, I'm opening registration for my Sugar Freedom Collective community. Now, this is a monthly community that I host and have been hosting for the last 2 or 3 years now. I think it's actually been 3 years. This is usually a community where women who have been through my program come after to maintain and to stay connected in community, to continue the momentum. There's also women in this community who have really just want to dip their toes in and get started and at any level of their relationship with sugar. So this is a monthly community, and it's extremely cost effective to join for a small monthly fee. And you're going to get access to not only an incredible community, and I'm going to be obviously talking about community today and how vital this is for your long-term success, but you're also going to get access to me. We do 3 live group calls every month. One of them is a health expert interview on all areas of holistic health. The other one is a group support call once a month. So we have a coaching session once a month, which is so amazing just to connect in community. And then we also have a rotating session every month that's usually either some sort of fun ceremony or workshop or just a fun event together. We've done craft night, we do games night. We really just come together and build friendships and build community at a very deep level that most of us don't have, especially in this space of wanting to improve our relationship with sugar. So those are the live calls that you'll get access to every month. And an incredibly giant library of past recordings of expert interviews from the last 3 years, monthly training videos that I film on various inner peace topics. So a lot of what we talked about in the boot camp, and obviously what we're going to be diving into with the women who joined the emotional empowerment program, a lot of these inner pieces, these foundational pieces that are really at the root of our relationship with food. So I film a brand new training every month for members of this community, and that they get to dive into and really, take the next level in these various areas. So huge, huge value inside this community. And like I said, it's been such an accumulation of resources and videos and templates and trainings for the last 3 years that you will get immediate access to when you join. So this is really perfect for any of you who couldn't quite make the investment in yourselves in the 8-week program and really just want to still be in community, want to stay connected, want to have that sense of support and the resources for you to go at your own pace. So that is one of the beauties of this program, this community, is that you can, do as much or as little as you want. There's no structure. This is really a DIY. You get to make out of this community what you put in, and the resources are all there for you. So really exciting to be officially opening that up for the next few days. I don't open registration often, maybe twice a year for this community. And I am so excited to be offering that to any of you who really do in your heart want to continue the momentum that we've started over the last couple of weeks, don't want to let this slip away, but really just couldn't make the investment in the 8-week program. I want to make sure that you have something that's accessible. And that is what the Sugar Freedom Collective is all about. So would love to welcome you in. Didn't even mention that you also get access to huge recipe library, my sugar-free recipe library, as long as you're a member of that community. And the best part is you're never locked in. So it is month to month, or you save a lot if you do register and commit for a full year, and you are never locked in. So this is the beauty of this community. I never want you to feel like you have to be there if you're not getting value out of it. You absolutely don't have to be there. So it's really a beautiful space to have that flexibility at a lesser commitment level, and to show up and to still have access to these amazing live support calls and this amazing community that I've collected over the years. So that's the big exciting news that I want to start off this episode with. And I really can't encourage you enough to come check out the details to that below. And any of you who are in the emotional empowerment program listening to this, don't worry. You're also going to get access to this community after our program is over, one thing at a time. And we'll all meet there and really be able to stay connected. I mean, so many beautiful connections that were created during the boot camp. I loved seeing all of you connect and comment with each other. And this will be such a beautiful place to continue that momentum together. So there you have it. You can check out all the details. I will post the link below this episode. I'll make sure that it's, in on my social media everywhere, if you want to grab the link, and on my website to come and dive in and join us. And the reason that I really wanted to dive into this conversation around community today is for so many reasons, so many reasons, because I see this as one of, hands down, the most important piece on your journey, not just to getting to a place of peace and joy with food and a healthy relationship with food, but also for maintaining that healthy relationship with food. I think there's something going on in our society that teaches us or tells us that we can do everything on our own, right? Especially as women, I feel like we get this message a lot that, well, in order to be a strong, successful, confident woman, you have to do everything on your own. You have to put this brave face on and juggle all the balls at once, right? You have to be the single mother, the full-time job, be on the board of some volunteer organization and cook healthy meals. And for some reason, we think that that's some sort of level or definition of success, right? That women have to do it all. Right? There's a big difference between having it all and having to do it all. Okay. So we need to start understanding at a deep level that we are social human beings. We are never, ever, ever built. We are literally not built as human beings to do things alone. When you look back at our ancestral history, right? The men would hunt together and the women would gather together and raise children and cook and forage, right? When we look at how, over human history, how we have, for the most part, been in community. We've been in households where multiple generations live. We're surrounded in community at the church, right? We lean on other people when things are tough and really support our neighbors in that. And one of my biggest fears for humanity is that we are really quickly shifting away from that. And this last 2 years has made it worse. We have been forced apart in a really traumatic way, and, really encouraging all of us to isolate and to feel like we have to be alone, or we have to struggle on our own through our mental health challenges, through our physical health challenges, to other struggles in our life. And we start keeping things secret. We start hiding. We start being ashamed of, I'm having challenges and nobody else is having challenges. And this is, really, really, really dangerous territory that we're all walking in believing that, well, we should just be able to do it on our own. And somehow having this belief that if I can't do it on my own, that means I'm not enough, right? Or it means I'm unlovable. A lot of these core wound beliefs that really show up in this way. And I cannot even stress enough. And that's why I wanted to have this conversation on the podcast today, how vitally important it is that you realize doing it alone is actually more traumatizing and actually the worst thing that you can do for yourself. Because doing anything alone, whether it's, trying to build a healthy relationship with sugar, right? Or your health, or struggling through some other maybe relationship issues or job issues, right? Doing these things alone will only make it worse. And they will keep you in the struggle. The only way through is with the support of the right community. And I'm going to speak to this really importantly, because there are lots of communities out there. There are lots of people, lots of groups, lots of organizations, lots of online communities, and a lot of them are very, very toxic. And a lot of them can actually do more damage in your healing journey. And I want to really speak to that because I know a lot of my clients have been there, and I've been there, and really getting caught in the wrong community or with the wrong people. And that actually really, really ruining your belief that community can be really powerful and supportive for you. So for me, I want to share my story in this, even over the last 6 years, right? When I started my business 6 years ago, I had no friends that were entrepreneurs. I had no friends that were starting their own business or really committed to living their dream and living the way that I was choosing to live. And that was really isolating. I remember, my family didn't really get it. And get this, at the same time, I was trying to get a handle on my relationship with sugar. So I was doing two things at once that were really against, the grain of what the people around me were doing and how they were living, right? Not only was I trying to, be the strange one giving up sugar, I was also the strange one who was no longer working the 9-to-5 job and was choosing to work on the weekends and take Mondays off, right? So I was really going against the status quo of my network and the people around me. And it really made me face a lot of my fears around judgment, around people pleasing. It really made me do a lot of inner work, which I'm grateful for now. And over the years, I started realizing the importance of support. I hired a coach. I worked with mentors. I started making new friends that got it, that understood my schedule, my choices, that understood why I wanted to eat healthy. And luckily, those communities kind of came hand in hand for me. The people that I started meeting were, really health conscious and also, running their own businesses. And it was a really beautiful blend for me of noticing, oh, wow, there are people out there that get me. And that shift that really did happen over a couple of years for me, and shifting who I spent my time with and building totally new relationships and friendships that supported me, that lifted me up, made all the difference in my success, both in my business and in my health. And I will never again in my life try to struggle through any change or shift on my own, ever. I have communities, I have groups of people that I lean on constantly. Every week, I am leaning on my support groups and my friend circles with various things that I'm going through. And I couldn't get through those things without them. These are my people. This is my tribe. And I found the people who get me, that support me, that want to see me succeed, and the people that will also call me out on my shit. This is so important. And this is, my role as a coach, right? It is so amazing when you have people who can call you out with love. Hey, Danny, I notice you're saying one thing, but you're not doing it, right? What's going on there? Is this a pattern? Is this something that, you're not aware of? And it's so incredible because it's helped me grow 10 times faster than I ever would have on my own, 100 times faster than I ever would on my own. And not only faster, but with more love and support and just that sense of knowing that I'm not alone. So why do you need the right community on this journey? Okay. Obviously this is much bigger than just your journey with sugar and food, but ultimately I want to speak specifically to that because that's why you're here listening. Having the right community and the right people around you on this, which is why I love hosting these group programs that I host, like the emotional empowerment program that we just started this week, is really the power of community is honestly something you can't put into words. It's something that you have to feel and sense and experience for yourself. And the truth is most of us have never been in the right community. We have spent our whole lives being stabbed in the back by other women, judged by other women, whispered about by other women, and really, really hurt by friends or family members that have not really been there to support us in an open-hearted way. So this is what I call non-safe space. Okay. Most of us have spent our lives in non-safe spaces and really not feeling like we can be ourselves. And ultimately, as you know, from the boot camp and anyone who is following along, over the last couple of weeks, when we're not in a safe space, we can't open up. Our subconscious, our ego mind will not let us begin accessing our true authentic self. And the more we stay disconnected from our true authentic self, the more we are going to constantly be reaching for food and sugar to fill the void because we are disconnected from ourselves. We're disconnected from our communities. We're disconnected from the universe. And when we do this, we will always be in some sort of unhealthy pattern or addictive behavior, whether it's with food or drugs or alcohol or Instagram. We are always going to be trying to escape because we're not tapped into who we truly are. And in order to reconnect with who we truly are, we must have a safe space to start shedding the societal layers and these conditioning that has been put on us for the decades, 30, 40, 50, 60 years. We have to be in the right community in order to do this. And this is one of my priorities. I have seen this myself. I've been in many situations that have not been a safe community for me. And I've made the mistake of opening up a little too much, only to be put down or judged or shamed and to be hurt and essentially re-traumatized. And I've learned that the hard way. We have to be really cautious of who we share different parts of ourselves with. Who can we truly be vulnerable and open with and emotional with and begin this healing and repatterning with? It is usually not the people closest to you. Usually right now, it took me years to shift into now the only people in my life are the ones that I can really be that version of me with and practice repatterning and owning who I truly am. And that took me years to create. So right now for you, it might be a realization that the people around you are not those people. And that's okay. It doesn't mean they don't love you and they don't want to support you. It means that they can't really see outside of their own ego right now. And they're coming with their own traumas and their own patternings, right? And really want to see you succeed, but at the same time, don't want to see you succeed because that means that you're better than them. And there is a lot of that ego. This is all subconscious. There's a lot of that, like my friend in Australia calls tall poppy syndrome, where, there is this psychological phenomenon that happens where we don't actually want the people around us to do better than us because it makes us feel ashamed or guilty of where we are. And some of you might have had that experience. You know, if you are being really healthy and your family's making fun of you for being healthy. I have a client right now that I'm working with, and this is what she deals with, is she's really making some amazing changes, setting boundaries, eating healthy, and her family just constantly puts her down. Oh, you're too skinny. You're too healthy. Oh my gosh, just have some sugar. And this is the kind of self-sabotaging or the sabotaging behavior that comes up unknowingly to our family and loved ones. So that dynamic is very real. And it's a very real piece of why you may be struggling so hard to really build a healthy, lasting relationship with sugar. And that's okay. Okay. And you can do something about it, which is why having the right community is so vital. A couple other reasons why this is so important is when you are in the right, safe, supportive environment, you really get a deep sense of knowing that you're not alone. Most of us have core wounds around being alone with our suffering, being alone with our pain, being alone as a child with difficult situations. These are really core wounds for a lot of us. And when we try to do something as difficult as really healing our relationship with food, it can become a very lonely journey. And I share this as my story. You know, the first 2 years of my business and my, healing journey with sugar, I was all alone. I did have my husband. Luckily, he was in it with me, so I wasn't completely alone, but we were doing it alone. We were the weird ones in the family. And I didn't know there were other people out there doing this or that could support me. And, really knowing that really prevented me from making progress quicker. That's why it took me 2 years, if not more, to really, get a handle on what I was doing. And it was when I started getting community and when I started really tapping into these inner work pieces that I talk about. So when we're in the right community, we get that sense of, oh, it's not just me. I'm not alone. And that in itself is healing. And that in itself is motivating and inspiring. And that is how we move forward, is knowing that we're not alone. And not only that, knowing that we're not crazy or broken, right? When we can come together with hundreds of other women and see that they all have the exact same struggle as us. They're all guilting themselves. They're all binging late at night, waking up in the morning, feeling ashamed. They're all struggling at 3 o'clock in the afternoon with that energy slump and feeling like they need something sweet to get through the rest of the day. The negative self-talk, the body shame, like all of these pieces, the not feeling worthy, the not feeling loved. When we know that this is a human problem, not a you problem, everything starts to change, right? When we feel isolated and alone, we will never be able to make change from that place ever. And that might very well be why you haven't been able to make change. And ultimately, when we hear ourselves in others, we hear our story in others, it is absolutely life-changing because we can relate and we can literally hold each other's hands as we navigate through difficult situations. Maybe you're the only one, maybe you feel like you're the only one whose family doesn't get it, right? Or whose husband isn't supportive. And you're not. I guarantee you're not. I guarantee it. So all of these patterns, all of these internal struggles, the negative thought patterns, the guilt, the shame is not just you. And when you can see that and hear it in other women, it gives you such inspiration and clarity and motivation. And this is what leads to change and growth. And I'm willing to bet that's what you want, right? We start to understand that there are people out there who speak our language. There's people that get it. It's not just me. I found my people. Right? It's so incredible when we get that sense of feeling, because we can then go back into our regular everyday lives and the people who don't get it don't affect us as much, because we know we can go home or we can, go out and connect with the community that does get it. So we can have both. And this deep sense of soul connection and really healing connection is what leads to food freedom. This is what leads to freedom in all areas of our life, by the way, not just with food. Because humans literally have, I don't know if anyone knows Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I mean, I remember learning that like in elementary school at some point. Look it up if you haven't, right? There are basic human needs that we literally need to thrive mentally and physically. Yes, shelter, water, clothes, heat, right? These are really basic needs. And a lot of the needs that we forget, we think money is a need. We think family is a need. We think, obviously we have a roof over our head. You obviously do. You're listening to this on a phone or on a laptop somewhere. So you've got Wi-Fi, you've got internet, you've got, electricity. So you're good. Your basic needs are met. And there may also be some other needs that get forgotten. And if you look at that pyramid, you'll see there are basic human needs for connection, for love, and for joy. And these are things that I speak about a lot, and we actually dive deep into in the program that I'm hosting right now. And actually in the Sugar Freedom Collective community, we have trainings on all of these topics because this is so huge. Most of us have spent our whole lives feeling disconnected, not feeling like we belong, not feeling like anyone around us really gets us. And in that, also never feeling really deep joy and love for ourselves, from others. And we use food time and time again to give us that joy, to fill that void of love, to feel connected, right? We use food for all of these pieces because we're missing them, and they're basic human nutrients, we'll call them. These are necessary nutrients, just like vitamin D and vitamin C and protein. We understand those nutrients, but we forget about these psychological nutrients, these mental, energetic nutrients that are mandatory if we want to be happy and we want to feel free and we want to feel at peace in our bodies and with ourselves and with food. And like I said earlier, these human nutrients, the connection, the joy, the love, have been extremely more challenging to attain and find over the last few years. We've all been through a huge trauma together over the last couple of years and been forced apart and forced to disconnect and to feel even more alone and to feel even less joy and feel even less love from our neighbors, from the people that we thought loved us, families being torn apart. I've seen it all. I've been in the middle of all of it. And this is very real and very painful and traumatizing, which is now why more than ever, we need to be in the right communities. We need to have people in our corner that are not going to turn their backs on us if we decide to believe something they don't believe. And this is obviously a huge conversation, right? That we could go on forever. How can we really just love and accept each other no matter what? Right? Understanding that we're all connected and we all want the same things. And it's okay if we don't see eye to eye. It's okay if we don't believe the same things. And really being able to accept and love and stay out of judgment for that. I believe if the world could do that, we would be in a very beautiful space. We would be able to heal a lot of the trauma and the war and the anger and the hate that's going on out there if we could all just respect each other and listen and stay open and stay, non-judgmental in that space. So unfortunately, the world doesn't operate like that quite yet. That is my hope for the planet, but we'll see if that happens in my lifetime. But what you can do in the meantime, while we wait for the world to change in that way, is to find communities, pockets of people and your tribe that can be that safe space for you. So that's what the Sugar Freedom Collective is. I want to just mention that here as we're talking about this community. That is exactly what the Sugar Freedom Collective is. And in case you missed it earlier, registration is open for the next few days. So come and check out the link below and see everything about the community and hopefully, join us. We would love, love, love to have you in there. So I want to mention a few things here before we end this episode. A few problems that I see with many of the communities that do exist out there and why, I've created the Sugar Freedom Collective so differently. And the community is not just the Sugar Freedom Collective, but all the programs that I host. This is why I focus so radically differently on the different type of community that most people have never experienced before, because there's a lot of trouble and problems and challenges with so many of the communities that I see out there. And I know a lot of you listening to this are probably in a few free Facebook groups. Maybe you're in my free Facebook group. Fantastic. I'm so excited to have you there. Great. That's great. Okay. And I want you to be on lookout, even maybe it's another program you've done as well. Maybe it's not a free Facebook group. Maybe it's a in-person community you're in, or, an online sugar-free, community, or another program that you're in. And I want you to really take stock. I'm going to share a few things here, and I want you to really pay attention to, is this what's going on in these communities that I'm in? Whatever community it is right now that you're leaning into for support, are any of these showing up there? And this is a chance for you to get really honest with yourself about, ooh, yeah, this might not be a safe space for me. Or maybe it is, which is great. If that is you, fantastic. Stay where you are. Keep leaning into that community and using that community. But I'm willing to bet most of you are not in these safe communities. And I know this because I've seen this. All of my clients have shared this with me, I was in all these communities and I thought they were helping. And then I joined your program, or I joined the Sugar Freedom Collective, and oh my goodness, I see what I was missing. So some of the things to be on the lookout for, and I'm sharing these because I've been through all of these and I've seen these. I'm in a lot of these groups as well online. And I see this happening is, number one, a lot of them are very superficial and at the same time, very judgmental. Right? There's a lot of comments of, well, you're doing it wrong, or, oh, you can't eat fruit when you're on sugar, right? Maybe you post something about, feeling satisfied after eating an apple, and someone jumps in and shames you for eating an apple. I see this, right? Oh, you shouldn't be eating that. There's a lot of food shaming and a lot of judgment in any stage of your journey, right? In a lot of these communities, they're not always loving, supportive spaces. And a lot of them are very superficial. It's all about the food. It's all about what to eat, what not to eat, and completely ignoring these deep inner pieces, that I really dive into, right? This is my focus of what I do with my clients, because these uncovering and going inward is the only way to really create a lasting, healthy relationship with food. And a lot of these communities stay on the surface level. And rightfully so, because they're not a safe space to dive deeper, right? And that's rightfully so. We will have our protector will be there. We will have our walls up because we don't really know these people, and there's thousands of people, hundreds of people in these communities. They're giant, and it's really easy to hide. It's really easy to stay superficial, to just post food photos, to just talk about, the surface level pieces of food and of your journey with sugar, which can be somewhat helpful, but it's not going to really create lasting change until you're in a space where you can get vulnerable and you can dive layers below the superficial upper, conversations, and get into the real grit and the real pieces that are going on behind the scenes. And another thing that I see with a lot of these communities, and again, I encourage you to think about is this the communities that you're in? Right? Is that a lot of these communities, people are at multiple different stages with sugar, which can be good. We can all learn from each other. And the Sugar Freedom Collective is like that as well. There are some people who have never been off sugar, and some who have been and are now maintaining, which is really beautiful. But sometimes if the community is not run, and whoever's running these communities is not actually creating the culture and environment of support and safety and sharing, it can create this gap, this us versus them kind of energy. And I see this in groups that I'm in is, well, I've been off sugar for this long, and our ego will start to take over. And the people who have never been off sugar or just starting their journey will start to feel ashamed. Will start to feel, well, I guess I suck. I've only got 2 days sugar-free, and that person's been sugar-free for a year. We start to play the judgment game. If this is not orchestrated and hosted and supported in the right way, this can be a really difficult place for you to show up authentically and not feel judged that you're not where someone else is. We get in the comparison game. We do this, women. We do this, ladies. We do this all the time, and really comparing ourselves to other people's journey. Oh, they're more ahead than me, or they're so much better than me. Nah, right? All that nasty chatter that has no use on our journey. So ultimately, we need to be supported in that. Yes, we can all absolutely benefit from each other if we're at different stages of the journey. And I see this in the Sugar Freedom Collective that I host. It's beautiful to see women supporting each other, all different all different levels, but we have to very much have the culture of understanding that we're all at a different stage, and that's okay. And that's beautiful, and that's welcome. And it doesn't mean you're lesser than. So we need to repattern that and be able to be together. And that is really, really important, and something huge that I see missing in most of these communities. The other piece, of course, is there's no face-to-face connection. It is so easy to hide in these other communities behind our keyboards, right? In the shadows, which is great. If you're an introvert and this is difficult for you, I get that, but you're never going to really get to where you want to be if you don't build connections and you don't step out a little bit in the right space. And I'm willing to bet you've probably never felt like stepping out because you haven't been in a safe space. And this lack of face-to-face connection, right? It's just posts and photos in a Facebook group. When we don't actually get to see and hear each other's voice and look into each other's eyes, that really can't create that safe space, right? We can't really feel connected to other humans without seeing them. And we can do this because I've been doing this for years over Zoom. We can do this virtually. Ideally, we're in person for sure, because we want to be hugging and connecting in that way and vibrating together, but we can do this on Zoom. And I've seen it because I've created it. I've created these groups that, with women who are lifetime connected, onward because of the connections they built face to face. So really, really important to notice that, hey, it might be kind of fun to be in these communities that I'm in with hundreds of women where I can hide behind my keyboard, but it's also one of the things that's keeping me from making any real progress, because you're not really connected. It's a false sense of connection, just like social media is, right? Being on Instagram, you feel like you're connected, but you're not connected because you're not actually having face-to-face conversations. And in this, what I see in these communities as well, this is a big problem, is there's no accountability. Because there's no face-to-face connection, because there's no deep, real vulnerable conversations, and there's no, there's hundreds of people in these communities, they're massive. We really don't have that accountability. It's easy to post a goal or say we're going to do something and then just disappear into the background. Nobody's there expecting us to show up. Nobody is there to check in on us. And this is why it's so important to be in smaller groups, to smaller communities, in smaller programs where you can get that level of accountability, and people aren't just going to forget that you were even there. So these are some big problems that I see. And I actually see, all of these really causing actually more trauma and more challenges and more suffering and more staying on this darn hamster wheel year after year. So I want you to start reflecting now on what types of communities are you in, both in person, in your physical, in your town, in your communities, but also online. And I know many of you are online in a lot of these sugar-free Facebook groups, right? And they might serve a purpose for you, but they might also be way too surface level, judgmental, and really the reason why you're not making any real progress. And I want to point out something else as well, because I know a lot of you are doing this, and I was as well, that another problem that might be showing up for you around community is that you might be in all the communities. Are you in like 20 different sugar-free Facebook groups, feeling overwhelmed, right? When you're in a million places at once, you're never really in one place. Right. And it's same with trying to do 10 things at once. You're never going to do anything really well because you're spread so thin. So when we're overwhelmed, we tend to not do anything. We don't engage, we don't show up, we don't commit. And that is obviously, a big reason that could be holding you back from what's going on for you. So I really just want to highlight that and give you permission to leave some of those groups. You can always join again. And get focused on the right community that is going to show up for you in the way that you need and provide you that safe space, whether it's the Sugar Freedom Collective that I host or a different community, whatever it is for you. Just really get honest with yourself about what you need and what feels right. Trust your feelings, trust your intuition, trust your body on this, and really go with what feels right to you. Okay. Because this is vital. If you're not getting that already, I hope so. I'm hitting you over the head with this because it's so vital for your long-term success. So so excited to have this conversation. I could talk forever about community. It is such a passion of mine and something that I will never live without in my personal life and my business life and all the areas, because I see that I will always succeed quicker and with more fun and ease when I'm with the right people lifting me up. And we want to be that for you. So I want to remind you here as we wrap this episode up that the Sugar Freedom Collective community, my monthly community that I host, that is so incredibly safe and non-judgmental and loving, and is there to hold you accountable and is there to really have these face-to-face connections, these deep connections that you're craving, that we've all been craving, because we're not getting this. We're not getting this. And that's why we're not making any progress. So if you're struggling, with this relationship with sugar and, the investment in the program that I'm hosting this week wasn't possible for you, then I really encourage you to come and take a look at all the details of the Sugar Freedom Collective, the live events we host every month so we can see each other and connect and have fun and build connection together. Plus all of the incredible other resources and trainings and videos that you have access to as a member for a low monthly cost. It's just my gift to all of you. I don't want finances to be something that holds you back. So this is that option and opportunity that I have for all of you to come in and still be connected with me and to continue this incredible momentum that you started last week with the boot camp, and maybe you started this year and you're struggling. It's spring now, and you're not really where you want to be with your January goals, right? It's amazing how quickly time flies. So this is my invitation for you. And I'm so excited to welcome you in and hope that you love it. And we hope to see you there and welcoming you with open arms. All right, everyone. I hope you have an amazing week, and we will see you inside the Sugar Freedom Collective, hopefully. And if not, we'll definitely see you next week on the podcast. Bye, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to another episode. If you're loving what we talked about today, please remember to subscribe, leave a review, and share this episode with someone you love. And if you're ready to dive deeper into discovering your root causes and patterns that are keeping you hooked on sugar, be sure to check out our brand new free workshop series that will help you kick emotional eating for good. Find the link to download this free series and other amazing resources in the show notes below.